The Tale of Mrs. Holle. A widow had 2 daughters. One of them was beautiful and hard-working, the other, however, ugly and lazy. But the ugly, lazy one, because she was her real daughter, was by far her favorite, and the other had to do all the work and be the Cinderella of the house. The poor girl had to sit down daily by the side of the highway beside a well, and had to spin so much that her fingers bled. Now it so happened that one time the spindle was all bloody, so she bent over the well meaning to wash it, but it slipped from her hand and fell in. She burst into tears, ran to her stepmother, and told her of her misfortune. But she scolded her so harshly, and was so without pity, that she said, "Since you let the spindle fall down the well, you fetch it back out." Then the girl went back to the well, and did not know what to begin to do, and sick at heart she jumped into the well to retrieve the spindle. She lost consciousness, and when she awoke and returned to her senses, she was in a beautiful meadow, where the sun shone, and there were many thousands of flowers. She set out across the meadow, and came to an oven which was full of bread, but the bread cried out, "Oh, pull me out, or I will burn! I've been quite completely baked for a while." Then she went to it, and using the paddle, took all the loaves out in turn. Then she went on, and came to a tree, which was laden with apples, and cried out to her, "Oh, shake me, we apples are all of us ripe." Then she shook the tree so that the apples fell like rain, and shook it until there were none left hanging, and when she had gathered them all together into a pile, she went on again. Finally she came to a little house, and an old woman was peering out, but because she had such enormous teeth, the girl was afraid and wanted to run away. But the old woman called after her, "Why are you afraid, dear child? Stay with me. If you will do all the work in the house thoroughly, it will go well with you. You must only be sure that you make my bed well, and shake the comforter out hard so that the feathers fly. Then it will snow in the world. I am Mrs. Holle." Since the old lady spoke so kindly to her, the girl took heart, agreed, and placed herself in her service. And she performed all her duties to Mrs. Holle's satisfaction, and always shook her comforter out mightily, so that the feathers flew around like snowflakes. So she had a good life with her, not a harsh word, and every day boiled and grilled food. Now she'd been a while with her when she grew sad, and at first did not know herself what was wrong with her. Finally she realized that it was homesickness. Although here things were quite 1,000 times better for her than at home, yet she still felt a longing to return. Finally she said to Mrs. Holle, "I've started to yearn for home, and no matter how good a life I have down here, I still can't stay any longer. I've got to go back up to my people." Mrs. Holle said, "I'm glad to hear you ask to return home, and because you have served me so loyally, I will take you back up myself." And with that she took the girl by the hand and led her to a great gate. The gate was open, and just as the girl was standing underneath, a tremendous shower of gold came down, and all the gold stuck to her, so that she was covered in it over and over. "This is for you to have, because you have worked so hard," said Mrs. Holle, and also gave her back a spindle that had fallen into the well. Then the gate was closed, and the girl found herself up above in the world, not far from her mother's home. And as she walked into the yard, the rooster was sitting on the edge of the well, and called out, "Cock-a-doodle-doo! Here comes our golden girl-you!" Then she went in to find her mother, and since she arrived so covered in gold, she was well received by her and her sister. The girl told them the whole story of what she had encountered, and when her mother heard how she had come into her great wealth, she was eager to secure the same benefits for her other ugly and lazy daughter. She made her sit down by the well and spin, and to make the spindle bloody, she pricked her finger and stuck her hand in the thorn hedge. Then she threw the spindle into the well and jumped in after it. Like the other girls, she came to the beautiful meadow, and set out on the same path. When she came to the oven, the bread again cried out, "Oh, pull me out, or I will burn! I have been quite completely baked for a while." But the lazy girl replied, "Get myself all dirty? You must be kidding," and went on. Soon she came to the apple tree, which cried out, "Oh, shake me, we apples are all of us ripe." But she replied, "Not on your Nelly, one would conk me on the head." And with that she continued on. When she came to Mrs. Holle's house, she was not afraid, because she had already heard about her enormous teeth, and engaged herself in her service immediately. The first day she made an effort, worked hard, and obeyed Mrs. Holle when she told her to do something, because she was thinking about all the gold that she would give her. But on the second day she was already starting to slack, even more on the third. Then she did not even want to get up in the morning. Also, she did not make Mrs. Holle's bed as she ought to have, and did not shake the comforter so that the feathers flew. Mrs. Holle soon tired of that and terminated her employment. The lazy girl was actually happy with that, thinking the rain of gold would be coming up now. Mrs. Holle led her likewise to the gate, but when she was standing underneath, instead of gold, a huge cauldron of pitch was emptied over her. "That's the reward for your services," said Mrs. Holle, closing the gate. And the lazy girl arrived home, but she was completely covered in pitch, and the rooster sitting on the well, when he saw her, called out, "Cock-a-doodle-doo, here comes our dirty girlie-oo!" And the pitch remained sticking to her, and as long as she lived could not be got off her.